They mocked the homeless girl when she timidly approached the street corner where a group of well-dressed teenagers stood, their expensive sneakers gleaming under the golden light of the evening sun, their laughter echoing across the city square as though the world itself belonged only to them, and she, thin, dirty, with tangled hair and clothes that barely clung to her shivering body, was nothing more than a shadow that did not deserve to exist. But despite their piercing stares and cruel whispers, she gathered the courage to clutch the battered guitar that hung loosely across her back and asked in the softest, most fragile voice, "Can I play for food?" And at once the group erupted in mocking laughter, one boy covering his mouth as he pretended to faint from her audacity, another girl rolling her eyes with disdain while recording her on her phone, but the girl did not flinch, did not let the sting of their mockery destroy the fragile ember of hope she carried inside, because hunger had gnawed at her stomach for 3 days straight, and though her body trembled, her spirit refused to let her die unseen, unheard, unwanted, and so she gently sat on the cold pavement, resting the guitar on her lap, brushing her fingers across its old, worn strings, producing a sound so unexpectedly pure, so hauntingly delicate, that even the cruel laughter began to falter for just a moment, though they quickly covered their unease with louder taunts. Yet when she began to play in earnest, when the music rose from her soul like a prayer breaking through years of silence, everything around her seemed to shift, as if the very air was listening, the noisy square growing strangely still, passers-by slowing their steps, children tugging their parents' sleeves to stop and listen, because the girl's voice when she began to sing was unlike anything they had heard, raw yet angelic, trembling yet filled with an almost holy strength, a story in melody that spoke of pain, loss, and hunger, but also of hope, of love, of light that could never be extinguished, and the mocking teenagers who had moments ago sneered at her now found their own eyes betraying them, watering as though against their will, for her music pierced deeper than pride, deeper than cruelty, striking the humanity they had tried so hard to bury under wealth and arrogance, and as she sang, memories awoke within them, memories of mothers holding them, of nights they once cried in secret, of the times they too had felt alone, misunderstood, or unwanted, and suddenly the homeless girl was no longer a stranger to be ridiculed, but a mirror reflecting everything fragile and beautiful they had forgotten about themselves, and still she played, still she sang, her voice breaking yet never stopping, until the crowd around her swelled to dozens, then hundreds, and coins, bills, even jewelry began to drop into the open guitar case before her, but she hardly noticed, for she was lost in the song, a world where her late mother's lullabies still lived, where her father's absence no longer haunted her, where every cruel laugh and cold shoulder she had endured became fuel for a fire of resilience that poured out through the strings and rose into the sky, and by the time the last note faded into silence, a silence so profound it felt like a sacred pause before the world remembered how to breathe again, the teenagers who had mocked her were no longer laughing but crying openly, their phones lowered, their expensive pride shattered, and one girl from the group stepped forward trembling, placing a sandwich she had been holding in front of the singer, whispering, "I'm sorry," before stepping back into the crowd, and suddenly applause erupted, thundering, echoing off the buildings, and the homeless girl looked up in disbelief, her cheeks wet with tears, because for the first time in years she felt seen not as a burden, not as trash, but as a soul who mattered, and if you are listening to this story right now, I ask you, would you too have mocked her, or would you have been the one to offer kindness? My friend, stories like this remind us of the power of compassion, and if this moment touched you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because together we can spread more stories that awaken hearts and inspire change, and the journey of this girl is only just beginning, because what happened after that night would shake not only her life but also the lives of those who once mocked her, and in Chapter 2, you will see how the gift of her music brought justice, healing, and a miracle she never dared to dream of.